You know what the problem is with the mainstream media? They're doing too much to help Donald Trump and not nearly enough to help Kamala Harris.
Shameful.
God, I need a drink. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, I wasn't actually watching The View, or as I like to think of it, women of a certain age shrieking about things they don't understand. But I did see a few clips from Monday's show, and I'm sorry I watched that little. So Sonny Hostin, one of the hosts of the show, suggested that the American people are wrong to think economically they were doing better under Trump than they've done under 3 years of Bidenflation and all the rest. She also fears that Trump will trip up Kamala Harris at the debate, which is going to be tonight. That's why we're not talking about that. It's tonight as we're taping this. She said, these are going to be difficult things for her to do because she has a menace on the other side, someone who doesn't normally behave, and so she doesn't know what to expect. Anyway, and Joy Behar jumped right in and she said, the media is normalizing this crazy behavior and that has to change now. And everybody chimed in, oh, yeah, we need to be doing more to take down Donald Trump and we need to be doing more to help Harris because this is The View. I should add that The View airs on ABC News and their coverage has been rated 100% positive for Harris and 93% negative for Trump. Bill, if you're Deborah O'Connell, she's the interim president of ABC News. Aren't you a little insulted that all your hard work and the hard work of the rest of your staff isn't being recognized by the women of The View?
You know, I'm not often speechless, and this is almost one of those times.
I finally did.
I honestly don't know what to say, Steve. 100% positive for Harris, 93%, 97%,
93%.
Seems fair to me. Here's the unspoken thing about it, though, right? I mean, what's really going on with what these? Well, I'll just go with the most TV-friendly term I can think of. Here's what these harpies are saying. They're basically saying that if Trump is ahead, or if the polls show that he's ahead, if Harris trips up, if Trump wins, if anything happens like that, it's not the fault of the message. They're going to try and make it not the fault of the messenger as well. But no matter what happens, it's got to be something other than the fact that the American people are not abandoning progressive philosophy in droves. It's either that Trump is too mean and he's not fighting according to the Marquis of Queensberry's rules that they've always applied to Trump, whatever they fought with Trump. I'm talking to you, Candy Crowley, and so anything other than the fact that they're not bleeding support from core constituencies that they've been dependent on for the last 3 generations now. So it's either the media is too kind to Trump, or Harris is at a disadvantage because Trump is such a dirty fighter, hitting below the belt by asking questions, that haven't been approved in advance and that she may not be prepared for, that kind of thing. But ultimately, Steve, this whole thing is a giant house of cards, and everybody knows it. They know that Kamala Harris is not she's not the sharpest hammer in the tack box. They know that she's in the same way that they knew that Joe Biden wasn't really all there. So part of this is, again, it's unfortunate timing that we record these shows about 6 hours before the debate, so we've got absolutely no way of knowing what actually happened. But clearly what they're trying to do is they're trying to prep the battle space for Harris not having a spectacular performance. And it's not that Harris isn't suited to become president, heaven forfend, no. And it's not that their ideas are so unpopular with the American people, no, it just simply can't possibly be the case. It's got to be some sort of explanation in the system. The news media is too biased towards Trump, obviously, and Donald Trump is so far beyond the pale that just her agreeing to be on the same stage and talking about national issues with him is a bridge too far to ask of any civilized human being.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned at the beginning that part of the reason for this seeming panic is Trump has pulled ahead in the betting markets after spending August in a in a slump. And I warned everybody at the end of July that August was going to be gut check month. Nate Silver, the analyst pollster guy, published a thing on Monday showing Trump having a 65% chance of winning Pennsylvania and a slightly lesser chance of winning every other swing state. And I'm not saying it's game over, man, game over, but Harris is she's not performing like she was supposed to perform after all of this help she's been getting from the press. And Scott, this isn't often appreciated, but The View is part, believe it or not, of ABC News division. It's not part of the entertainment division.
Really?
It's part of the news division. And so it falls under ABC News rules for standards and practices. So as a trained journalist yourself, and I mean no offense.
Thank you.
What does that tell you about ABC News?
You know, there was a time back in the day when at the end of the newscast, the anchor would sometimes give his opinion, and when he did that, his signature would appear on the screen under his face. I don't know if anybody remembers it, but it would say like Frank Reynolds or David Brinkley or whoever it was. And that was to draw a bright line between the delivery of the news and the delivery of opinion. Now, we know such a bright line has never existed in the history of all journalism, but it was a symbol of that anyway. However, the View is hardly a news program, but to many people, just like the people for whom Comedy Central's Daily Show is their news program, The View is a news program. This is where they get their information. And I'm wondering, are they saying essentially Kamala Harris, by stepping onto the stage with Donald Trump, lends to him a credibility he does not deserve? And why does ABC and Kamala agree to participate in this charade with this charlatan who shouldn't even be up there? It's funny because Donald Trump, in many ways, is benefiting from the fact that a huge proportion of the American public still values the fundamental things that make America an excellent place to live. Free markets, minimal regulatory structure, strong defense, the constitutionalism of our courts, rather than making, whimsical decisions based on the feelings of the day. These ideas that Trump still propounds from time to time, and actually he did a better job of doing these things when he was in office than he has ever done in talking about them. But I read a story today, even people who don't like him are probably going to vote for him. There was a story that said that some 7% of the American public is expected to grudgingly vote for Donald Trump. They don't like him, but they believe that the stuff that he's likely to do is better than the stuff that Kamala Harris is likely to do. And so you can't, it's the old, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And people will, in many cases, look beyond what they hear on the news and just say, I remember what my life was like in the previous administration, and I remember what my life is like now during the Biden-Harris administration, and I have a preference of one over the other. And you can't shake that loose by telling people that somehow they're better off now than they were before, when their own experience tells them that you're not telling the truth. So I think you often see these stories similar to what the View hosts are propounding, that anybody who writes anything about Donald Trump, even if it's news, should have to insert in the news story every time they quote him, Donald Trump is lying here and he's a bad guy. Like, there should be opinion injected in everything. There should be no objective journalism where they just report what was said, but they should be, because it's just wrong to report what he says, you should have to comment on it. And I think the View is suffering the same affliction as most of the rest of the leftist media.
Yeah, it's sad that ABC continues to keep that in their news division when clearly it isn't. But that makes certain people feel good about the entertainment they're receiving, or better than they should. So, Scott, Bill, you guys both reminded me, it's just one of my favorite stories ever. And I think this explains why Harris is starting to stumble after her, joyful August. So the story is a giant consumer products company introduces a new dog food to great fanfare. There's a massive marketing campaign. They're spending millions of dollars on this thing. And sales are great at first. People are buying this stuff up at the supermarket. They're going to pet stores. They're just buying huge old bags of this stuff. And after that, though, sales just start falling off the roof here. So the company spends even more millions on ads. Those didn't work. So they hire consultants to come up with a new and even more expensive ad campaign, but nothing worked. Sales are in the toilet. The company's losing money. Inevitably, there's finger pointing, there's infighting. The TV ad guys said the commercials were fine, but they were run during the wrong shows or the wrong time of day. Social media people blame the Facebook algorithm. The executives blame the consultants, and consultants shouted back the executives didn't follow their advice, and it's just one thing after another. People are fired, new people are brought in, sales still stink, until finally, one of the new people finally says, maybe the dogs just don't like the dog food.
Ta-da.
And there you go. And if I can close by misquoting E. E. Cumming, there is some kibble I will not eat. And that's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. For Bill and Scott, I'm Steve Green. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.